What's up, Sickos? Today, we're taking a turn from our regular content and heading into our first ever commentary video.
And if you see from the title, we are perhaps heading into the danger zone, if you will.
Indeed. We are examining and doing a deep dive, or really an inverted dive, into the intricacies and nuances of Top Gun
and Top Gun Maverick. There will be spoilers for both of these movies ahead, so if you haven't seen them, this is your chance to pause the video, go watch, and then come back.
So in this video, we're going to cover 6 different topics. The first of which is going to be...
So before we get too far ahead of this, let's point out some things that are true and some things that are false. So Top Gun is real. You might be like, duh, bitch, but I'm positive that someone out there thinks that it's all fiction.
That this was a cute little story to make up a little thing and little division and for Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
You think that the U.S. military isn't real? This is just a little fun thing.
Yeah. The whole thing, yes, definitely. But
Dang.
In reality, Maverick and Goose, the story is not inspired by a true story.
Right. It's based in reality, but this little tale did not happen.
Yes, Tom Cruise, though, I feel I should say it right off the bat, he is the actual, perfect height to be a fighter pilot, 5'7". So, but, yes.
Top Gun is real. It is no longer in Miramar, California, which is north of San Diego, and it is not in North Island, which is where Top Gun Maverick takes place. It is at a naval air station, which is east of Reno, Nevada.
Yeah. It used to be at that Miramar place, that Fighter Town, USA, but it moved in 97. And so they shot the old Top Gun parts of it at the real old Top Gun, but the new one, they also shot at now the new Top Gun and in North Island, but so those are real places, but Top Gun.
It's all real places.
Yes. And the planes, they're real.
They're all real planes. They're
Yes.
all real planes.
Yes.
Just like Tom says before Maverick starts.
Right. And like Tom says, the movies, both of the movies, films, whatever, had cameras inside the planes, in the cockpits. And there are real pilots, aviators, and then the actors are behind them. And
oh.
Yeah. And in Maverick, there was way more about how they did it for Maverick than the original, but I know that for parts of it they also did this for the original. Mm-hmm. In Maverick, or with Maverick while they were shooting, the actors had to turn on and off their cameras by themselves and adjust makeup or any hair or even lighting. If they knew that their lighting was supposed to be in a certain direction, they had to do it themselves. And they would be in the air for 90 minutes at a time. And the cinematographer, there was no feed, there was no monitor. The cinematographer and the director had to just wait on the ground for 90 minutes at a time and hope that they were hitting their marks and everything else. And and then the cinematographer also he had to expose the camera. He had to look at the weather, see if there was going to be clouds, see what the flight paths were going to be, if they were going to be in shade, if they were just going to be in sun the whole time, and then plan for 2 hours of exposure at a time.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
That is wild. Not to get ahead of myself, be that makes you admire the pilots, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure they're people who are in the military, former military. Both these movies are flooded with patriotism and U.S. military propaganda. The forces depicted at the U.S. Navy's Top Gun school are so skilled and selective and fun and tight-knit that you almost want to be a part of their team. Enough about the reality of it all. Let's get into the story.
So, and let's get into what both of these movies are about.
Tom Cruise.
Yes, but let's take a look at the runtime difference and then also the stories.
You got it. So in the original Top Gun, hitherto I will be calling Top Gun 86, it is an hour and 50 minutes. It is a full 20 minutes shorter than its predecessor, Top Gun Maverick. However, in Top Gun 86, the story is completely centered around the character Maverick, and you don't get any breaks from him. Like, Goose is just tethered to him. It is about Maverick's time in the Top Gun program, and that is a long time to ask the audience to focus on one person. They do not get any breaks from Tom Cruise.
Yeah, it's a lot of Tom Cruise. And, like, it follows, it's a very formulaic, like, it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it goes really up, and then it goes down. But in Maverick, like, I feel like there's way more ups and downs, and it's so much more dynamic, maybe is the word I'm looking for, but it weaves a more intricate story, and we care about the characters so much more, and, like, more of the characters.
Mm-hmm. In Maverick, they definitely do more world building. There's more stakes than just Maverick. Rooster has a trajectory, not completely separate from him, but he has his own storyline, unlike his father, who is only tied to Maverick in Top Gun 86.
In Top Gun 86, there's really just, like, one crash, and it's the one where Goose dies. And, like, Cougar gets weirded out, and that's why he drops out, and they even go to Top Gun in the first place. But there's only one crash then, and it's when Goose dies. And it is impactful, or, you know, emotionally. But in Maverick crashes at the beginning of the movie, and at the end of the movie, and at the very end of the movie, like, kind of crash lands for a third time. But also, Phoenix and Bob crash, and then Rooster crashes. And
there's that whole scene with, I forget that character's name, but he has, like, that moment where, like, they have to, like, wake him up again.
Coyote.
You know? Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so, like, all of those, you care about all of the pilots.
Mm-hmm.
And even though there are all the pilots, there are still the clear two protagonists of Maverick and Rooster. And, like, Rooster may have way less scenes with, like, himself and Phoenix or, like, Hangman, but there are still times when Maverick is not there, and the audience does get a break from Tom Cruise.
We just named the rest of the squadron. We just named basically all the recruits.
Yes.
They all had a name, even if they didn't get a first and last name. You know, but you liked all of them. You even liked Hangman by the end of the movie.
Right. Not John Hamm though, but he's the villain.
Well, I know what you're saying, but, like, the villain is, like, the actual, like, enemy they end up fighting at the very end of the movie. And that's another thing both of these films did really well is the enemy is never named, you know? Like, in the final battle, the films never mention, like, who or where the enemies are. In 86, we don't even get to see, like, what terrain they are fighting on. They are in the air, above the clouds. I don't even know if you see Ocean in that final fight sequence where he goes to assist Iceman. There's no markings on the plane. Like, on the side, I would say, like, Bradley, Rooster, Bradshaw on the side. And, like, the enemy planes don't say those. They, like, none of them have any indications. There's no symbols. There's nothing to indicate anything at all of, like, who or what the enemy is. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh yes, no, completely. And, like, we'll say they're never named, but I think it's really funny that in the first movie, so there's, like, a star and a circle on the helmets, and, like, in that's maybe on the plane, like, on the MiGs, but then in Maverick there's also, like, that they have that symbol on their helmets, and I think on one of their planes at least. And so that, like, in the first movie that was supposed to be, like, North Korea almost, the star and the circle, but, like, the 5th generation fighters that are
they're fighting with or playing in,
that the enemy has in Maverick, like, the only country that actually has those, like, and it's a MiGs. North Korea, like, had MiGs. And the only country that has the 5th generation fighters is Russia. But the only country that ever flew F-14s beside us was Iran.
Yeah.
And that was, like, pre-revolutionary Iran. So none of these countries ever were like signed a NATO treaty. And so like the
Uh-huh.
nuclear power plant that's like the target in Maverick, like they say like
Yeah.
it's in violation of a NATO treaty. Like if any
But
of those
they wouldn't have been in NATO.
right, if any of those three countries like were the enemy, then they're not a part of NATO. So like this enemy is truly just fictional. Like it is just like the bad guys. That's it. Because it's like 3 different countries have all of those planes.
Mm-hmm.
And none of them were in it. Like it is just they bad guys.
Yeah. They're the bad guys, we're the good guys. Hey, USA, we're the good guys. For a franchise that should be like drenched in patriotism, neither film ends up like dating themselves by naming just the enemy of the times, you know? These movies date themselves through the best ways, through music, through fashion, and the straightening of Tom Cruise's teeth. And speaking of music... So let's talk about the main single, if you will, that was generated for both of these films. And I think we should fly right into the danger zone, starting with Top Gun 86 and Kenny Loggins performed Danger Zone. In this song, like, you completely get the emotional theme, the mood, the scene is set with just this song of like the fast flights and swirling engines and the masculine energy, you know? And the further on the edge, the hotter the intensity, Danger Zone completely captures Maverick and Goose's need for speed in this classic film.
Did you know that Kenny Loggins was like asked to sing it after Toto like declined?
No, and I didn't know that until I read it 3 minutes ago in the script before we started rolling. This album went platinum like 19 times.
But like Kenny Loggins did not write Danger Zone.
No. I did know that.
Okay.
I did know that.
See, I didn't. But
okay.
The guy who composed it and who composed Take My Breath Away, it was Giorgio Moroder and then like Tom Whitlock. They were like the composers. Giorgio Moroder also did a bunch of Donna Summer songs, and he also worked with like a ton of other artists. But like probably one of the most recent collabs was like with Daft Punk on Random Access Memories.
We stand Giorgio in this house.
Yes, but like so Danger Zone was made for this movie, okay? Yes, and it is a classic rock hit, and it still like is. People still kind of love this song, but I do find the song corny. I'm not gonna lie, I find it corny, but I love the opening sequences, like the flight deck and stuff, when people they're like in a little pose and going like, ooh, I freaking love that.
The energy of the opening scene, we could
but like that's a song too, like it would be so different without that song.
100%. Back to the album. Did you know that Take My Breath Away was, also composed for the movie, but it was nominated for Best Original Song?
I think you've told me, but what was it up against?
I'm sad I don't remember what won, but it was up against Gloria of Love.
It won. It won.
It won? Good. Well, listen, okay, so it was up against, but no. I don't know if I'm like, yes, because it was, of all the things, Glory of Love from Karate Kid 2, Life in the Looking Glass from That's Life, Who Gives a Fuck, Mean Green Mother from Outer Space from Little Shop of Horrors, but most importantly, Somewhere Out There from An American Tail.
I don't think I know any of those, like even Little Shop of Horrors, but is Somewhere Out There from American Terror like Somewhere Out There? Oh, so I do know that one.
Ryan on that Sing It to the Rats.
Oh, but
Take My Breath Away is good, and like interesting nominees, especially compared to what's released like now and is nominated now, which we simply don't have time. Ugh, interesting.
It's become a timeless love song.
I did not know it was written for Top Gun. So I agree. It has its own legacy outside of the movie. Don't know that I could say the same thing for the Top Gun Maverick single, that it will have its own life outside of Top Gun Maverick. Despite how much I desperately and deeply love Hold My Hand by Lady Gaga.
You love this song. You are, like I said,
love
the vocal
this song.
minority that you love this song. But yeah, I don't know if it's second Oscar worthy. And I thought, like, the use in the movie was fine, like, but the thing you just said, like, oh, show the scene where it plays. Technically, it plays, like, all the time, and I found it to be overbearing at times in the movie. Like, it is the emotional score between Mav and Penny, and they played it every time they had any type of interaction, like, after she was introduced.
See, and that's what I don't like about the use of this song,
Yes.
because that song's not about Mav and Penny. It's not, and you can't convince me. This song is about Maverick and Rooster being mentor and progeny. So I'm upset that it was used as the love theme from this film, you know?
Yes, I agree with that. And yes.
But focusing on what it's meant to bring for the film, it does give like a big rock anthem, an emotional rock anthem. And the theme of the song fits with a greater theme of Top Gun Maverick, of all of our characters working together to get through their conflicts, whether they be emotional, personal conflicts or the literal militant conflicts they experience in the film. They work together and they get through it together. And that, that was the big difference between this film and the last one. There was emotional growth from everyone. And in Hold My Hand, there is the emotional growth of getting through a hardship together.
Yeah, it's a great point.
But I digress. Playing with the Boys encapsulates like the playful competitionness in the original film in Top Gun 86. And it also gives us a little bit more, it gives us the iconic homoerotic scene from the original Top Gun. But it's not time to go off about the homoerotic part of Top Gun. Instead, we should move to the So Maverick's love interest in Top Gun 86 is his instructor, who is a civilian. And he doesn't know whenever he hits on her in the beginning of the movie that she's going to end up being his teacher for the remainder of the film.
Yeah. Charlotte, call sign Charlie.
Well, we already talked about like story balance. We did want to cover the romantic storyline separately.
Yeah, so there's significantly better balance with the love story arc between Mav and Penny and Maverick than Mav and Charlie in the original Top Gun 86. The love with Charlie was taboo. It was centered around Mav's performance as a pilot, and like Charlie had no identity outside of being an educator.
She was also just an older woman living her independent life. She had a bird. Usually, it was interesting though that she being an older woman, normally it's like the opposite. Like Tom Cruise has been nominated like hundreds of times for like most egregious age difference between a love interest, where he's like way older. So that was exciting to me.
Originally, they weren't gonna hook up. And after test screenings, the audience was like, man, there's no sex scene. So they went and did reshoots.
Boo!
They added that elevator scene where she like has a hat on, and then the love scene, and like she has a hat on because her hair was a different color for a different role, and like she had lost apparently 16 pounds for this other role, and like so they literally just added the sex scene. They maybe even the kiss, like the one part where they're like yelling at each other in the street basically, and he kisses her. I
can't pretend I'm not in love with you anymore.
Tom like forgot his line and kissed her, and they kept it. And then
okay, I kind of live for that though.
Right, that's even something different though. Like a kiss is different than sex, and like the fact that people were like, no, give us a sex scene, like that changes how I feel. Like, okay, originally they didn't have sex, so her character choices like made more sense. That it was always still just like this kind of removed taboo thing. She's older, she's his instructor, and it was all about how he's flying, but then I guess they made it more subtextual that his flying was his sex life or something. Like it was just
more than just they don't call it the cockpit for no reason.
Maybe that's why it's also like off balance, because originally they weren't gonna fuck.
That makes a lot of sense and pisses me off about the parts of the 80s I don't want to remember. The parts of the 80s that were bad that we've changed from. I wish that there wasn't a love story in either of these movies, but the way they did it with Jennifer Connelly is just excellently integrated into the movie and significantly better than Mav's relationship with Charlie.
Yes.
You know?
And, like, she makes sense for Maverick. Penny makes sense for Maverick. And their age difference, even though it's larger technically, IRL, Jennifer Connelly would have been, like, 16 at the first Top Gun. So, I think Penny is probably not she's probably a little bit older. Because, like I said, he was, like, 24. Who knows when, like, he hooked up with Penny Benjamin before or whatever. But, like, I'm gonna say he wasn't going after a 16-year-old.
21 and she was, like, 13. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. So, I think, you know, IRL age gap is 8 years, but movie age gap was probably more like 4 or 5.
Okay.
And then, yeah, she would have been 19 and he was 24. You know? I don't know. Doesn't matter. And that's if, like, he took... Whatever. Yeah. But they have a reasonable
IP
age difference.
Is the real important part. She's IP.
Yes. And I didn't realize that until someone told me, and then we rewatched it, and she's mentioned not just once, but twice, even though she's not shown on screen. She's mentioned twice. And that, to me, brought up my, like, respect and liking of Maverick even more, because it was like, they did their research, even though it's like, they wrote the sequel to the movie, so yeah, I would hope that they, like, watched the first movie, but...
Hey, we've seen on this channel, just not everybody does their motherfucking research when they go to make a movie.
I'm so glad that they did that instead of just throwing in someone new. Well, like, at first I thought she was throwing in someone new, and I was like, Penny's an odd name, but upon realizing that
it's
it was
because she was, an established, probably throwaway line. No, she was an established character in the TGU. The TGCU, you know?
Yes.
Cinematic Universe. But yeah, Penny was an established character. Her life was about her daughter. Her livelihood was about her bar. And her leisure was about her boat. And when Maverick spends time with her on screen, the story is no longer about training. Like, it is about their relationship. The audience gets a chance to, like, breathe and forget about the mission and, like, move away from Rooster. Like, you get respite. And also, some of those scenes were, like, comical. When he jumped out the fucking window, you get a break. You get a laugh.
Yeah. Or, like, even when they're talking about things, even if it is about the mission or, like, Rooster or Ice, it's about, like, his emotions, not, like, I went to Rooster and we got into a fight or whatever. He's like, I really care about that kid, and I just want him to know that I do. And she, like, being an established character, like, she doesn't need anything explained, and she understands the Navy shit, like, she's an admiral's daughter, like, so it is just more about their emotional connection in their relationship, and I feel like that was, I mean, that's what, like, a love story in a movie should be about, especially a love story that's, like, a C-plot kind of love story, because, like, I would say A is just like Maverick flying, B is Rooster flying, C would be Mav's relationship, ?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And it was, for a C plot of the movie, it was fully fleshed out. Even Penny's daughter was a fully fledged character who, with what few lines she had, she showed that she was a teen girl with her own ideas. She had her own ideals. And she was going to say, like, don't break her heart again. I know about you, bitch. Blah, blah, blah. But, like, she was a person, too. A real person.
Right. And she was... Penny and, like, the daughter were on screen the right amount of time to build up, like, their appropriate relationship and, like, support of Maverick as a friend or, you know, a guy that's dating her mom. Like, a romantic prospect for Penny. Like, they just... It was really... The balance of the romantic relationship was so much better in Maverick.
Definitely. Speaking of romantic prospects, it is time to talk about the aspect of both films that I have been looking forward to most.
In Top Gun 86, Iceman's animosity towards Maverick creates several iconic moments of homoerotic tension. In two particular scenes, they gaze at each other so closely and so heatedly that they are close to kissing. And those scenes are Madi.
Listen. There is a scene. At the when they're like in a fucking locker room, and I can't like get up to my camera right now because I'm not gonna be able to see the feedback of it, but just like the way Val Kilmer looks down at Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise is looking back up like I'm like this, and I'm like, oh my god, clutching the couch. That is definitely a scene I remember vividly, and there is a scene. No, I think it's the very, very end. It's when he says like I'll fly with you, or I'll fly with you anytime, or whatever, and it's just like they go for a hug, but the hug moves in such a way that it looks like they're about to face smash. Like it looks like they're about to make fucking out. I swear to G. I swear. I think they cut out kisses in the film.
It really does. There's so much homoerotic tension. Or like, is that locker room scene? Is when Iceman, like, clicks his teeth or whatever at Mav?
Yes!
Yeah.
It is extremely present, and it's incredibly intense.
Right. And then also, like, the beach volleyball scene, it is Slider.
A bunch of dudes playing volleyball half naked.
Right, half naked, or like Goose is in like a crop top and short shorts. Mav is just in like jeans, shirtless. Slider's in shorts, shirtless, and Val is in something. But playing with the boys, like that song, not to go back to that, but that became like a gay anthem. And so if we want to talk about homoeroticism, my gosh, my golly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
This movie, it was like, yay. And yeah,
it
was
the 80s.
So close. And I think possibly, sometimes it was like camera angles, like the certain lens and the angle it was at, like compressed it and made them look even closer. But I think some of it was just they were literally in each other's faces. But on set, like they were kept separate to like keep this competitive tension and everything else. And in Maverick, they do that same tension. It's with Rooster and Hangman, and it's also juicy as shit.
100%. 100%. Like you said earlier, Hangman is like Rooster's personal antagonist, just like Iceman is Maverick's personal antagonist. And like, yeah, the whole movie, they're like desperately like, I'm gonna be the mission leader. I'm gonna be the mission leader.
Instead of biting at Rooster, he like has he like puts a toothpick in his mouth or something. Like he's like,
Glenn.
Symbolism?
Putting some wood in your mouth, ridiculous.
Hangman also, I feel like I've gotta say, he is like the perfect mashup encapsulation. This must have been on a separate sheet of paper or something. He is the perfect encapsulation mashup of like Maverick and Ice, the way that he acts towards Rooster.
Yeah, so charming and charismatic while also being such a fucking dick.
Just a jerk. And the smile, and he, like whenever he's like, you know I'm right, and smiles and walks away. Oh my god. Like Glenn Powell, holy crap, man.
Yeah, he did excellent. He did excellent.
So good.
This is one of those movies where, you know, like when people are like, and Knives Out, I feel like they were just having so much fun. On the set of Top Gun Maverick, you know they were having just so much fun, you know?
Yes, they had to have been. And I'm sure, like, they're also all, like, pals, bros, whatever. Like, everybody.
Homies.
Yeah.
Homies.
Right.
Everyone together. In the final scene, like, everyone is together. Everyone's celebratory. It seems so real. And in that scene, they mirror when Ice and Mav are like, gonna kiss, with Hangman and Rooster. And I thought they were gonna fucking kiss. I thought they were gonna kiss so bad that then later when Rooster goes to hug Phoenix, I was like, damn, are they gonna make these two kiss out of nowhere? Because like they clearly had like a pre-established relationship, but like it was never shown if it was like a sexual relationship.
Right.
But like it was so prevalent, the sexual tension, that I thought they were gonna just throw it on the hetero relationship. And thankfully, they did not.
Right. They did not force Rooster to have a sex scene and go back and do it in reshoots like in the fucking first one. Like they just left him.
Maybe they should have.
Maybe they should have. But they just left it. Maybe they should have kissed.
I think that they should kiss, and I think that we should all get to watch.
like, clearly, Top Gun left a legacy, was never left the pop culture, you know, consensus.
Never.
No one ever forgot about it. It was always relevant. And, like, even though this is the longest, like, Lega sequel that has happened, although if it would have came out in 2020, it might not have been. It was, I mean, it was worth it. It was such a good movie.
Such a good movie, and it's still in theaters, and it's made $1 billion.
And for good reason, because it's good.
Yeah, you can say whatever about inflation over time since the 80s. It's made $1 billion. And the reviews for Maverick are way better than they were for Top Gun 86. Like, the progression from the original to the sequel, incredible. Great foundation, great things to begin with, and the way that they've changed has made the second one even better.
Right. And I believe that it does not need another. Because
Agreed.
I worry what that could do. Even though it made $1 billion, they better not be working on a Top Gun 3, because it's not going to be as good or impactful as this one. Not that they were working on a sequel for 36 years, but I know the original director, Tony Scott, was working on some sort of sequel before he passed away. So it was on, like, his mind or other people's minds, but this is just like, nope, it's good. Leave it where it is. Don't ruin it. Because this is also one of the only sequels, Legacy sequel or not, that is better than its original.
100%.
So it really needs to not be continued upon. And we don't need it to be continued upon. Make other stories. Give us Miles Teller in different movies. Give us Jay Ellis in different movies. That's Payback. Give us Manny Jacinto, who, like, didn't even have any freaking lines in this, in more movies.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
I couldn't agree more. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. We've got much more coming down the pipeline, especially in the way of cinema and pop culture.
Yes. And share this with someone you saw Top Gun Maverick with, and say one of life's simplest joys is playing with the boys. Bye.
Bye.
And I did leave your typo in there that you said Top Cruise. I thought that was so fun.
I love myself. Okay.
I thought that was on purpose.